But speaking about this whole Trump regime, who's been basically collapsing the economy on purpose, not basically, they are. We see the stock market, we see how down it is. And mind you, it started to pick a little bit back up today until China hit back and was all like, well, we're going to charge y'all a 34% tariff now. And I want to tell you, remember we were talking about the chart that Trump had? And I knew those numbers were skewed. It didn't make any sense for a country to charge us 90. I think Vietnam, it showed like 90% that they charge us on the tariff. I knew those numbers were hiked up. Like those numbers weren't true. How they got those numbers was it's supposed to be offset of the trade deficit. That's how they got those numbers. So they weren't true numbers. So where for Vietnam that you're seeing, for example, charged us 90%, that was not true. But funny story is Vietnam is the only one that is trying to negotiate. What they're hoping is that everybody will come back to the table and renegotiate their tariff costs. But most people are saying like, no, F you. You know, Canada hit people with the energy tariff. For those of you who don't know, a lot of the Eastern, Midwestern, like New York and stuff like that, their energy comes from Canada. So it's going to affect a lot of those people in Michigan, New York. Like people are going to start seeing why politics matter. And I think for me, one of the goals that I have, Joy, is to explain to people like, no, politics do matter. You might think, oh, I don't care, nothing changes. I don't know. Y'all gonna have to start remembering how 2008 was when we was in that recession. You're gonna start seeing parallels. I promise you that. But let's go ahead and get into Kamala Harris. I know y'all tired of me talking. Let's go ahead and get into Kamala. Here we go, y'all. Let me blow it up.
When a few stand with the courage, that is the courage exhibited by the leaders in this room every day, to stand, to have the courage to say, I feel fear. The courage to say what is happening is wrong. The courage to say that there is a way that we must chart to get through this. Understanding our power in the democracy we still have if we hold on to it. Courage is contagious.
What could have been, everyone? What could have been? That, of course, was former Vice President Kamala Harris speaking at a summit of women leaders earlier this evening. It's one of the first times we've seen her speak out since her November election loss. She hasn't been out there a ton. We'll see if she comes out more. She also spoke about the current state of fear in our country.
We are seeing organizations stay quiet. We are seeing those who are capitulating.
Oh, that's a big word right
to
there.
Clearly.
And, you know, like I was saying the other day, it was funny because remember, I was all like, where is this fight that it seemed there was in 2017, as they call it, the resistance? Where is that right now? Because literally you see all these companies, all the politicians, everyone is like basically like, oh, Trump, you're the best. Oh, Trump. And it's all like nobody's fighting him back on anything. Like, what is going on? Like, it's almost like we live in an alternative reality. And I feel that, okay, when he got elected, it was kind of like, oh, well, shit, like, what's going on? You know, for some of us who did not vote for him, it felt like, damn, really? You know, it was like a shock to us, right? Thank you, Dovey. Tell them to hit that like button. It was a shock to us, but then it was like, okay, like, we got to be on our shit. We really got to be on our shit. And for me, I was like, okay, this is my opportunity to really educate the people, because obviously we spent too much time in 2024 talking about Diddy. That's what I feel. I feel like Diddy was a distraction because we spent too much time on Diddy and not too much time on this, showing the people like, hey, this is going to have consequences if this man gets back in office. Don't forget, he's on a revenge tour. All the cases against him, those 34 convictions, found liable for SA, all that, he's on his revenge. And so is Elon Musk. They on their revenge tour right now, and we're feeling it. So again, I like how she mentioned, like, everybody's capitulating to him. Like, everybody's bowing down.
Unconstitutional threats. And these are the things that we are witnessing
Right.
each day in these last few months in our country. And it understandably creates a great sense of fear. Because, there were many things that we knew would happen. Many things. I'm not here, so I told you so.
First of all, she predicted a lot of these things that were going to happen, and many people are definitely scared. We see that out there. We're also seeing
right, and I'm happy that she said she said, "Hey, I'm not here to tell you I told you so," but yeah, she told them so. And people saying, "Oh, she never talked about this, she never talked about that." Y'all just listen. What y'all cared about was whether she was black or not, which was beside the point of anything to do with her politics. But what y'all were concerned about is whether or not Kamala Harris was black. Y'all was not concerned about anything else. Oh, and some of y'all were concerned about Gaza. And let me make this standpoint. When I talk about Gaza or Palestinians, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the pro-Palestinian movement that wants to have this purity test when it comes to certain people, because we're going to get into that, the hypocrisy, right? But that purity test, I'm talking about specifically them. I'm not talking about, I still stand with the people in Gaza. Don't ever think my position on them have changed, the citizens. It's the pro movement that, yeah, that's what it is. But anyway, but with Kamala, she spoke on these things. People chose not to listen. And you in the FAFO, right? I got to remember the acronym because I want to say the word, but I don't want to get flagged, right? But F around and find out. We're in that stage. And it's so funny because you see Fox News, you see these right-wing podcasts. Some of them have spoken out, like Ben Shapiro has spoken out against the tariffs, but a lot of them are like, well, Trump, he said we're going to be in pain. It's going to hurt for a while. Why do we have to feel the hurt? Can anybody explain that? Kamala Harris never said, oh, you guys are going to have to feel the hurt. I never heard that in her campaign. But Trump, before he was elected, Elon did a whole interview saying, like, yeah, the people are going to have to suffer, but suffering is going to be good. They're just going to have to suffer for a little while. But there's not a time limit. First of all, there's not a time limit on whether or not how long we're going to have to suffer for. And two, it's not a time limit on if this is going to work. This whole, the American jobs are coming back. Listen, let me see where my Nikes are made. I believe in China, but let me double check on the tongue. Oh, wait, this ain't got no tongue on it, huh? Hold on. Oh, the tag is in the inside. China. Are y'all gonna start making shoes again in the US? Are y'all gonna want to be in a factory making shoes for $5 an hour? That kind of job ain't never coming back, y'all. These little minuscule things like these factory, like we have factory jobs here, but the ones that they're talking about coming from these other countries, those are not going to come back. And then you have to remember something too. The materials, it's not even whether or not it can be built in the US. It's the materials like the steel, like the different minerals and stuff like that. Those things are not here in the US. So you got to think about, okay, this still needs to come from a different country, which in turn, the materials still have tariffs on it, even if they are made in the US. Stellantis, who makes parts for the Jeep, right? They're laying off 900 people after these tariffs. So people are losing their jobs, you guys. And this is going to happen more. More people are going to be laid off. There's some factories shutting down for a couple of weeks. I forgot which one it was, but there's some factories shutting down right now for a couple of weeks until they can renegotiate and figure shit out. Because this is shocking everyone. But again, this is what people wanted. This is what they wanted, right? If I was Kamala, I'd tell people, tell Shady yeah, I did not like that whole listen. I was a huge Janet Jackson fan, but I didn't like how out of her and the Jackson family to talk about somebody being black or not when they all look a little different, right? They all got chopped cheese nose, they all got them nose jobs, skin lightening. I don't even want to go in on the Jacksons, but if they're gonna talk about who black and who not. And you know what the other crazy, can we talk about something else about people talking about who black and who not? Because again, this had nothing to do with Kamala's policies, but y'all wanted to talk about her skin color and if she was black or not, right? The most people that I've seen talking about Kamala, whether she was black or not, are people married to other white people. And that describes the Jackson family as well. They fall in that category too. But I'm all like, the people, like, what did that have to do with anything? That didn't have to do with shit. Nothing. And so again, Kamala spoke to the middle class. She spoke to getting loans, helping families, the child tax credit. She was going to continue fighting to get the student loans taken away. You know, like there was things that she was still fighting for the middle class. When they asked Trump about child care, he said tariffs. When they asked him how he was going to solve the homeless issue, tariffs. How was he going to bring jobs back? Tariffs and deportation. Those things don't even go together with solving homelessness, jobs, you know, so forth and so forth. And especially after they want to continue the H-1B1 visa to let the immigrants come over here and work the job stuff for cheap labor. Those were his answers. But again, we have this purity test, and especially it seems like not just only Democrats, but when it comes to black politicians, they have to have this purity test. They have to check off all the boxes. They have to check off all the boxes. They cannot be imperfect. What's up, Grandma Joy? Let me catch up to some of y'all. Corbin said I would have voted for a rock over Trump. The oppression to our people was due to skin tone. Elle, where are you going with that? I want to know where you're going with that. I don't know what that means. I mean, I know what it means, but what does that have to do with what I'm saying right now? Homelessness isn't about homes and more. Well, it's about affordability. Now, whether, you know, we can have a conversation about mental health. Like, yes, that is a part of it. Mental health, substance abuse, that has something to do with it. But what about me or somebody else in the chat who can't afford housing? Rent is starting at $2,500 out here where I am. You might can find a studio for $1,800, but at least a one bedroom starting at $2,500 out here. And working $20 an hour, that's hard. And Kamala had a plan to help with the housing. So it has been proven that you have to build more housing in order to help decrease the pricing. You have to have more supply. Because at first I was all like, that doesn't make any sense. You have to have more supply. But when I looked it up, like, yeah, a lot of economists have said you have to build more homes to get it more affordable. And Kamala also said that she wanted to stop these outsiders and these people purchasing homes, purchasing like family homes and stuff like that, because you have like these big corporations, you have outside from foreign entities buying these family homes and then charging these ridiculous amounts for the rent. And we all know when the rent goes up, and somebody who's living in an older home that's been there for 50 years, their property tax goes up. And so this is how they get housed out. So that would have dealt with I would say gentrification. Gentrification. Yes, beautiful. Gentrification. Exactly. Kamala spoke to that. What was Donald Trump's plan? Tariffs and deportation. So you guys didn't want to listen. I hate when you guys want to have this argument with me and y'all know what I'm talking, and I know what I'm talking about. When I know what I'm talking about, you can't argue with me. When I don't know, I'll be like, oh, okay. I'll throw up my hands. I ain't afraid to admit when I don't know something. There's something else to this clip. What's up, Kay? There's something else to this clip that I wanted to bring up because they mentioned that protest.
That people are going out in full force to resist, with mass mobilization across the country, including a huge nationwide rally called Hands Off, planned on Saturday. And joining me now is one of the people headlining the rally in D.C., Congressman Jamie Raskin, who is, of course, a Democrat of Maryland, also ranking member of the Judiciary Committee. Congressman, it's great to see you. First, it's been a pretty good week for Democrats, I think. A week where people saw lots of candidates announce they were going to run. You saw Senator Booker do an overnight inspiring moment on the floor.
F your protest, ho. F your protest. I better not see anybody in my chat. What's up, son? I better not see anybody in my chat going to that protest. If I find out y'all went to that protest, I'm going to slap the shit out of you. I don't want to see none of y'all there. Especially if you black. I don't want to see none of y'all there. Do not go to any of those protests. Listen, I did a protest. You know what my protest was? My protest was on November 5th when I voted for Kamala. That's what I protested. That was my protest vote when I voted for Kamala. Y'all want to do remember when I was talking about being proactive and being reactive? The proactive was voting for Kamala on November 5th. The reactive is all this symbolism shit that y'all want to do after the point. Y'all already know this man don't give a damn. Nichelle, I'm telling the truth. Y'all already know this man don't give a damn, and y'all want to talk about, yeah, we're going to go protest like he care. Okay, when he send them National Guards out there and start bombing y'all with smoke bombs and, start beating y'all down, listen, yeah, you might want to think twice. Yeah, he don't care. Any chance that he gets to send out the National Guards, Nettie, y'all know I'm telling the truth. Nettie, any chance he get, he gonna send them. he gonna send them out there. So yeah, good luck, be safe. That's all I gotta say. But I don't want to see none of my people out there. Let them do that. Don't risk y'all lives for the nah. It's okay.